A lot of people have ideas, and a lot of people never act on those ideas. When I walk through a cemetery, one of the things that I think about every time I drive by one, walk through one, is how many books, how many songs, how many pieces of art, and how many businesses died with the creator that could have created it. So what's it going to take for you to take that great idea and get the obstacles out of the way to get it started? We're going to answer 10 questions today that's going to help you do just that. 10 questions with starting a business. What's the first question that someone's going to have? Well, for me, it would be, what's the product or what's the service? And then you have to ask the question. And so this is the question around that product or service. Is there actually a need for it? You need to go and find 20 people who are not related, not somebody who's going to answer in the way you want them to, who's not going to get excited about it, and then maybe go behind your back and talk about, here goes another one of those crazy ideas. But 20 people who you're actually going to be able to put this idea in front of and get an honest answer. It might be 20 strangers. It might be a matter of going to a chamber meeting, a chamber of commerce meeting in your community, or joining some other group, or going somewhere where you don't know the people, to be able to ask, if this service was provided, would you take advantage of it, and how much would you want to pay? A lot of times the things that people are selling or the services are providing is not something they woke up dreaming about. It's because they saw a problem and they're going to solve that problem. We got into pallets. As a kid, I never looked at a pallet and thought, one day I'll be selling plastic pallets or wood pallets. Someone presented us with a problem. They had pallets they needed to get rid of. They were in a situation where they had to do it quickly. We commit and then figure out the rest later. And so over 30 years later, we're still selling pallets. Question number 2, how am I going to get paid? This is a question that you have to put some serious thought into. And I'll tell you, with the number of businesses that we have in over 40 years of being in business, this is something we still struggle with, we still work through, and that is it going to be a subscription? Is it going to be something you get paid a percentage up front and the rest upon completion? Is it going to be terms? What are you setting up with your vendors on that product? If it's a service, are you getting paid if it takes a week or 2 weeks or 6 weeks? Are you getting paid throughout the project, or are you getting paid partially up front and partially when it's completed? Cash flow matters. I believe that cash flow kills more businesses than bad ideas. And so you need to make sure that you're going to have money coming in that sustains you. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen a lot of people make in starting a business is they want to be cheaper. They want to be able to offer, whether it's a restaurant offering food or whether it's a service, they feel like people overcharge, and they go into it with the mindset that they're just going to make up a price and not put much thought into it. I want to encourage you, make sure you're putting together a business plan. Make sure you're talking about how are you going to sustain yourself? How are you going to pay yourself? If you don't pay yourself, you're not going to stay in business, and then it doesn't help anybody. Make sure to check your cash flow. When you walk into a grocery store and you pick out items and you go to the front to leave that store, you don't think twice about the fact that you have to pay before you leave. So many times what I find though in business is people don't want to ask for the money. They want to do the service. They want to paint the house, paint the room, fix the steps, whatever the services they're providing. They want to provide the service and then talk about the money afterwards. And you can't pay your bills doing this. And so that's why it's important for you to make sure that you have your cash situation planned out. How much are you going to charge for the product or for the service? And at what stage are you going to charge for that? How are you going to pay your vendors? How are you going to pay your employees? How are you going to pay your rent, your utilities? All the things that you're going to be encountering as a business owner. How are you going to pay your bills while providing those services? You have to make sure that you're not finding yourself 2, 3, 4 months behind. There are things you can do. Some businesses, you do have to get a line of credit. There's times that you're opening a business and you're going to need to be able to have money from the bank to be able to sustain the business. But a lot of people I listen to will tell you this is a very dangerous thing to do. You want to make sure you have the cash flow so you can keep the lights on. Question number 3, what does it take to survive the first year? I would say the first year to 3 years is what you should be planning on. And what this is going to take is a lot of grit. It's going to take putting in a lot of hours. People talk about work-life balance. It's a huge thing that people throw around nowadays. And they talk about, well, my family comes first, my friends come first, I come first. And I get all of that. And I think you need to have work-life alignment. And that means what dreams you're chasing, what you want to do for work, you need to make sure it aligns with your lifestyle, with your life. Because when you start a business, it's going to be some long hours. It's going to be taking calls when it's not convenient to take calls a lot of times. It's going to be worrying about things at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be getting up early. A lot of times, what I would encourage someone to do when they can is continue with their day job and then make sure from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock for that first year, that's when they're working on that new idea. That's when they're working on that new job that they want to be able to have. And so it's going to take a commitment on your part to make sure that you are completely bought in. One of the things that's been said to me, and I repeat this often, is your why has to be big for the problems to become small. Because the problems are going to be there. And if you don't have a good why, you will not stick with it. Because the owning your own business beats you up. It's some lonely nights, lonely weeks, lonely months. There are going to be some tough times coming. Would I encourage you to start your own business? 100%. But I want you going in with your eyes wide open, knowing that it's not going to be easy or easier than working for somebody else. It's going to be harder. And so many times I feel like there's people out there who want to be an entrepreneur because they think the word sounds good or it sounds cool or it's going to make it so they can work less hours or have more time to do the things they want to do, take more vacations. And that's just not the truth. If you talk to the vast majority of business owners that are out there, they are the hardest working group of people you're ever going to meet. And they're carrying the burden, they're carrying the stress of knowing that other people's lives depend on them. And so you have to go in knowing that it's going to be tough, but it's going to be worth it. Question number 4, why do most businesses fail and how to avoid it? I've had businesses fail and I've had businesses succeed. And so I've lived in both of those. And I know going forward, there's going to be ideas, there's going to be things that fail, and there's going to be things that do well and make it. So what sets up the difference? There's a number of things that go into this. One is if you're undercapitalized. If you don't have enough runway for the business, a lot of times we are optimistic. That's why we're entrepreneurs. That's why we're starting businesses. And so we think things are going to happen faster than they ever do. So think about that home project that you thought was only going to take a day, and then it took 3 days or 5 days. Think about that time you put together something from the store. You put together a lawnmower, or maybe you put together a grill, and you thought, oh, it says right on here it's only going to take an hour, and it took you 6 hours to do it. Multiply that times weeks and even months and sometimes years, and that's what you have to expect in business. You need to have a good runway with your business. That's why I encourage people, if you can start while you're still working your day job, that's the best way to start the business, and you have the least amount of risk. There's other things that are going to get in the way, and one of those is so many times as owners, we feel like we know what we're doing, we're the one to do it, we have to do it if we want it done right, and this is the wrong way to think. You have to be able to delegate. Right now in the United States, you're going to see the numbers all over the place, but you're going to see between $6 and $10 trillion of wealth be transferred over the next 5 to 10 years. I know those numbers are all over the place, but here's what it boils down to. There are a tremendous amount of people who are aging out, who own their own businesses, and they have no succession plan. Their family doesn't want it. Maybe they didn't have children. Maybe their children grew up watching them work in the business and always working, always stressing, and they just want to go to a job somewhere. You're seeing everything from dentists to furniture stores to all kinds of businesses, construction, roofing, all these businesses that are getting to a point where the people are ready to retire and they're in their 70s, some of them even getting up to close to their 80s, and there's nobody to sell their business to. There is no way to take over the business because it's always been a one-man show. They haven't built the systems. They haven't made it so they can scale it. And here's what that boils down to. You had a hobby, and it was a lifelong hobby, and it provided a good living for you and for those people. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a business. A business has to have systems. A business has to have what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures. You have to have these things in place so that way it can survive without the person that started it, without the owner. So I want to encourage you, make sure when you're starting a business that you're actually creating a business. Question number 5 is, who is on your team? I told you to delegate. You have to make sure you're doing that. You have to hire good people. Hire for culture. You can train people to do the job. You can teach them to do the job. You need to have the right people on the team. That first person you hire, critical. The first 5 people you hire are going to determine the DNA of your company. You want to make sure that every single hire is somebody who has the best interest of the company in mind. And so getting the right people on the team is so important. Remember, when you're marketing and advertising, yes, you're wanting to increase your customers, you're wanting to increase your business, but you're also marketing and advertising to be able to get the right people. Question number 6, what is your sales strategy? Because hope is not a plan. Here's one of the things that really bothers me about business plans so many times. I see them being submitted to banks. I see all different kinds of people using these business plans. You need to have a business plan. And marketing always seems to be at the bottom. There's this belief that if I build a store, if I rehab this building, if I put this restaurant in, whatever it is that someone's talking about doing, if I hang a shingle up, people are going to shop, people are going to use my services, and it's just not a strategy. And it does not work for the most part. Every once in a while, you hear 1 out of a million story where it did work for somebody, but it's not the norm. You need to be building relationships and building them early. Join groups, become part of the chamber, find out who's in economic development in your local area. Make sure you're going to a church. I would say not just for the reason of meeting people. I think there's other reasons to go to church, but get involved with organizations, volunteer, build relationships. This is one of the ways in which you're going to be able to promote yourself. People don't buy from companies, people buy from people. Whether you're talking about business to business or business to customers, it's always going to be this way where people are buying from people. That's why social media is so important. That's why it's important to make sure that you get on early and you stay consistent with your social media. 3 to 5 posts a day. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not. And it has to be what you're doing every day. It has to be a discipline. You have to let people know outside your little circle what it is you do. So whether it's a service or whether it's a product, you have to spread the word. I believe that a lot of businesses fail, not because they have a bad product, not because they're offering a poor service. It's because nobody knows about them. And so make sure that you're taking every opportunity to represent yourself and to make sure you're getting the word out there. Question number 7, you need financial literacy to survive. Cash doesn't just always mean cash. Think about this. Do you know what a balance sheet is? Do you know what a profit and loss statement is? Do you know what your cash flow, how to be able to project a cash flow for a business? These are all things that you have to understand. The incredible thing today is you can jump on a bunch of different AI platforms. You can get on YouTube. There's a lot of ways to find the right people, the right books, things that you can read to learn about basic principles when it comes to numbers. You do not have to be a CPA. You don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to get your MBA in finances or anything like that, but you do need to understand them. And don't be afraid to ask questions. When you're sitting down with your accountant, if you don't understand something, there was some point they didn't understand. There was at some point they learned about whatever it is they're talking about. Make sure you're asking those questions. What's the industry standards when it comes to what you should be paying for rent, what you should be paying for your product? What does it mean when someone says, what the margin is that you're going to be charging for a product that you're selling in your store? What's that margin need to be in that particular industry? What should you be making bottom line? What should be your gross? What should be your net? There's all kinds of things out there. And these are just the real basic that I'm talking about right now. And you need to be able to drill down. Never, never, never be embarrassed about what you don't know. Because what you don't know can kill your business. And so you need to learn it. You need to be able to ask those questions. I have sat in rooms with hundreds of very successful business owners in financial classes where somebody's asking questions that are on a P&L or on a balance sheet, and the vast majority of the people in that room had no idea what was being talked about. It's not embarrassing. You got into roofing because you knew how to roof. You got into building decks because you knew how to build a deck. Build a house because you know how to build houses. People went to school to learn about accounting and about accounting principles and about what does it mean if you're on cash basis, you're on accrual basis, which one's the better one for you to be on? Should you be an S Corp, a C Corp? Should you be, there's just all these questions and nobody has all the answers. You're even going to find in accounting firms that there's different accountants out there. And a lot of times you have to, as your business grows, you have to continually move up in the firms that you're using. And so there's never a time where there's a wrong question. The wrong question is the question that's not being asked. Ask questions about finances. Question 8, are you willing to keep learning forever? You have to continually be pushing yourself to read, to listen to podcasts. When you're in business and you own a business or you're running a business, you're going to find that time is of the essence. Like, it's critical. You never have enough hours in a day. And so it's real easy to put off that continued learning. And you have to make sure that you have it scheduled in your calendar every day, every week. There's lots of ways today for us to be learning. Everything from listening to books, listening to podcasts, being part of mastermind groups. I know that I have 6 mentors in my life that I count very dear to being able to help me. It's something where things change at a very rapid pace. There's nothing that changes faster than social media. A year ago, just a year ago, it mattered how many followers you might have on any one of your platforms. Today, followers really don't matter. You still want to try to gain them, but they don't matter as much today because things are constantly changing. Today, it matters that you're creating content that's educational. Well, that's even changing. Now it has to be entertaining. And so it's just a constant movement in business. Business never stands still. AI is changing things rapidly across all the different businesses today. And so it's very important that we keep up not only in our industry, but then we also keep up with the learning that is going to help us physically, it's going to help us mentally, and it's going to help us emotionally. Lastly, I'd share this. I talk all the time about you can't control what comes out. It's going to come out through your facial expressions. It's going to come out through the words that you say. What's inside is going to come out. The one thing that you and I can control is what we allow in. We can control what we listen to. We can control the people that we're around. We can control what we read, and we can control whether it's positive or negative. I have people tell me how negative social media is. They'll be like, oh, Facebook has become so negative. Instagram's negative. YouTube's becoming negative. And here's a little secret. Your algorithm has picked up who you are, what you're willing to listen to. You're listening to negativity. You can retrain that algorithm to be positive. And that's what you want to do. You want to have positivity coming in because there's already a lot of uncontrollables. So please control the controllables. Question 9, what does success actually look like to you? This is something you want to define early. Not that it's not going to change from time to time and you're not going to make adjustments to this, because as you go through different stages in your life, I believe that a lot of times what success is does change. I can tell you that at a later stage in my life that I'm now looking at legacy more than I used to, and looking at how we're going to pass off the businesses to somebody else and what the succession plans look like. But here's the one thing that we have to get down. You have to write it down somewhere, and this doesn't change a whole lot, and that is the why. Why do you do what you do? Is it to support your family, to support your community? Is it to be able to give back more to charity? What is the why behind what you're doing? And the reason why this is so important is the larger your why, and you want to make the why big, the larger the why, the smaller the problems become. If your why is not big, you're going to have these daily problems. You're going to have the daily grind. You're going to have the things that are really boring that you have to do each and every day. And if that why is not big enough, you'll throw in the towel. You'll quit. That happens to so many people. And they say that it just didn't work out. And so many times what I look at is their why was never big enough. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to be able to travel. There's a lot of things I want to be able to do. But I also want to leave a legacy. I want to leave Monmouth better than when I was born in 1970. I want to do things that impact it for years to come. I want to be able to have impact in the organizations that I'm a part of. And I want to leave a legacy to my family. So my why is big. I want to see our employees hit their PPFs, personal, professional, financial plans. I want to see us help as many people as we possibly can right here in Monmouth and then abroad. And so that why is big enough that gets me through those days where it would be much easier to throw the towel in if I didn't understand why I was doing what I'm doing. Question number 10, are you ready to commit? We say it all the time, commit first, figure it out later. Don't let perfection get in the way of progress. These are mantras of ours, here. We got started in this business because someone said they had 2 loads of pallets a day that they had to get rid of. We had no idea how you even measure a pallet, what a top board or a stringer, bottom board, 4-inch leads, 6-inch leads, hardwood, softwood. We didn't know any of this. What we knew was here was something that someone had a surplus of and they had a problem getting rid of it. We committed to it and then we figured it out. And so 30 years later, we're still wondering why we did it. Just kidding. It's where you find the problem, you find the solution, but you have to commit. That's one of the biggest things you're going to see with entrepreneurs is they make decisions and they usually make decisions fast. It's not that we don't do research. It's not that we don't put in the hard work, but it is where you're going to commit. It's where you go buy the truck and put the ladder rack on it and you start the roofing company because a number of people started telling you how they needed roofs and you knew how to do it and had some guys that wanted to help. And next thing you knew, you had a roofing company. You committed and then you figured it out. You're never going to have it all figured out. I hear people all the time saying things like, we're going to start having children when we get ready. Well, I got news for you. You're never ready. You have the kids and you figure it out. It's the same way I think in business. You start the business, you open the business, and then there's things that you never knew about, but you figure it out. You work through it. And so definitely prepare. You want to prepare. You want to put the business plan together. You want to be smart about it. But at the same time, just know that you have to be ready to not only commit once, but you're going to commit to that first employee. You're going to commit to that second employee. You're going to commit to that expansion. You're going to commit to those other products. You're going to commit to those other services. And you're not going to have it all figured out. But you have to be the kind of person that doesn't think about it for months or think about it for years. Just commit. Well, there was 10 questions that we just went through. And what would I tell myself 30 years ago, 35 years ago, is how I want to be able to wrap this up. And here's what I would say. Find mentors before you need them. This is something that's critical. I wish I would have found mentors when I was much younger and been able to work with them. I know it'd make a difference at where I'm at today. The other thing that I would say is invest in yourself. I did this to a degree, but not to the degree that was needed. You need to make sure that you're investing in you. This is with reading good books. It's listening to good podcasts. It's getting around the right people. You cannot be a we leader if you're not a me leader. You have to lead yourself first. I was sharing with someone just the other day about if you can't convince yourself to drink water because it's healthy for you, how in the world would you get somebody else to drink water? You have to lead you. You have to be disciplined if there's any way for you to be able to help other people be disciplined. These were great questions. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to have the chance to answer them. If you're interested in hearing more, I want to encourage you to like and to follow, leave a comment, and ask any question. I'd be more than happy to answer it.